I'd like to do is introduce you to the residential school research project that you're going to be working on for this week. For this assignment, what you're going to do is you're going to be researching residential schools in Canada. And the goal of this project really is to discover the legacy of historical globalization in Canada and also the impact that imperialism had in Canada through residential schools and ultimately the Indian Act too as well. So in order to present the information, you're going to be asked to create an online booklet, a PowerPoint or Prezi presentation, and that's totally fine. The idea is to get this done in about 3 hours, so you can gauge your workload by that. Okay. The project involves two things. Basically, part one is you research the information, and then part two is presenting the information. So when I mean present, it doesn't mean that you have to present it to me personally or online. That means that you're going to do is you're going to present the information via one of those avenues: online, booklet, PowerPoint, or Prezi. All right, so just to let you know, please do not copy and paste from websites. You need to take this information and put it into your own words. It's sometimes tough when students do a good job and then they resort though to cutting and pasting. And it's actually quite easy to detect, so please don't do that. Use your own words, and it actually makes for a better project. Okay, so moving forward, part one is basically researching the information. I've included an example website right here for you. I've also included in the Google Classroom two other websites that you can use. You can also use websites on your own. So you can Google, do a little bit of research, and find out there's some other websites out there for you. Okay, now part of your mark is doing a bibliography. Okay, so you have to cite the sources that you used. So you should have at least 3 sources, and I would say that you should have at least one additional source other than what I've supplied for you here. Okay, so what I've included for you is a little bit of a mock-up and some examples of how properly to cite your resources and the information that you got. Okay, the first example obviously is a book, which some people may use. The second one, which is probably most people will use, is a website. So this is how I'd like you to document your research. Okay. Quick couple notes is that Google is not a website; it's a search engine, and Wikipedia is not a good resource. Wikipedia is a very good place to start, and if you take a look at a concept, you can scroll down and you'll see a number of resources that Wikipedia site used. Go to those, okay? Or Google residential schools in Canada, negative effects of residential schools in Canada, and you will get a lot of information, okay? So that's part one, the research. The second part is putting your presentation together. And so, like I said, you can use an online booklet format. You can do a Prezi. You can also do a slideshow or a PowerPoint if you'd like, okay? So it says create a booklet. Your teacher will demonstrate the size expectations for your book. Obviously, we're not going to do that. So if you can get an online template, you can do that, okay, if you so choose to. So just very quickly, a little bit of help for you. What I did was we put together a little chart so you can organize your research. And this is actually a great way to answer the questions, which you'll see are some of the main questions, okay, for your actual project itself, right? You can put the notes down, and then you can put in the sources used. So then you can take this information and then obviously put it into your presentation. And then you have all your information and the sources right here in one easy page. Okay, second part is obviously sharing your information, so this is going to be your presentation. It says to be sure to explain your ideas in a way that would make sense to your fellow classmates who are not familiar with residential schools. Okay, so in essence what you're going to try and do is sort of put it together, so this would be like a presentation. So if we were actually in school, you could use these slides and you can use this information if you were going to present in front of the class. Okay, so Having said that, your booklet or your slideshow or your presentation is going to basically have 5 slides, okay, or 5 pages. Page 1 is the background information. You're going to include in point form notes is totally fine. Who created residential schools? Why and when residential schools were created? Okay, at least 3 points explaining how the Indian Act supported the creation of residential schools. Okay, so the Indian Act was the major driver behind residential schools. Excuse me. So how did the Indian Act support residential schools? Okay, page 2 is the abuse that occurred in residential schools, so at least 5 examples. So these can be personal examples, obviously. It can be personal statements, or it can be general facts, things that generally happen. Okay, page 3, the closing of residential schools, when and where the residential schools closed, and what was the response of the government to the legacies of these schools. You'll find this in a number of different resources that you'll take a look at. Also, there is some good information on the resources that I've included for you for that for page 3. Page 4 then is your own opinion. So just a brief summary of a paragraph long, 5 sentences. What is your opinion of residential schools and the response to the legacy of historical globalization? Okay, what do you think ultimately happened? Why it happened? How do you see this moving forward? Okay, what do you think is going to be in the future? Okay, and then the last slide or the back cover of your booklet, if you use it, is going to be your bibliography. Okay, very simply, the evaluation is out of 20. Quality information is 5 times 2. Okay, so we'll double that. If you do your bibliography and you do it according to the instructions to the example, 5 easy marks. And then lastly, the overall appeal. So what does your presentation look like? All right, did you take a little bit of time and put it together? Do you include illustrations or do you include photos to liven it up and make it very interesting? Okay, I hope that helps. If you have any questions, please, by all means, email me. Give me a shout and we can go through some of the questions that you have, if any. All right, good luck, and I'm looking forward to looking at your presentations. Take care.